Hi, and welcome to this Selenium recipe. Today we're going to have a look at how you can execute JavaScript code in your Selenium scripts. So why is it important to be able to execute JavaScript code? Well, because although Selenium does have a lot of methods already in the or provided by the WebDriver class, JavaScript is basically the language of the browser. You can do anything that you ever dream of in JavaScript because that's how a website works. You have your HTML for the structure, you have the CSS for the style, and everything else from logic and element manipulation is done via JavaScript. So it's really cool that you can do this also in Selenium. As an example, I'm going to show you how you can perform a scrolling on the page. If you remember, or if you've seen the video regarding taking screenshots in Selenium, if you haven't, please have a look in the description. I'll link it there. When we take a screenshot, Selenium takes a screenshot of what it sees. So if we were to take a screenshot from this page here, it will go until here, until the key and mouse press. So it's not scrolling down in order to get the whole picture. So what we're going to have a look at in this video is how you can scroll down, and I'm going to show you different scroll methods or different types of scrolling, and you can choose the one that you like. So let's get started. I already have empty test here, and let's just write what we're going to do as always. So what I want to do is set up the possibility of running JavaScript. And then I wanted to perform scroll to the bottom of the page. Then we're going to see scroll on a page by X pixels. And then we're going to do something called scroll to an element, scroll to a web element. Perfect. Okay, so the first part is setting up or making sure that we can actually run JavaScript code on our Selenium tests. And in order to do that, we need to create or we need to instantiate something called the JavaScript executor. And let's just say JavaScript executor, and we're going to instantiate it here. So what this does is it will give us the possibility to execute via this JavaScript executor to execute JavaScript code on the browser. But first, before we execute it here, we can actually perform the task on browser level to see if it's working or to see if it has the expected behavior. So let's go back to the browser and open our console. And in here, you can actually run JavaScript, which will execute directly on the web page. So it will not actually make changes to a web page on the server level, but it will allow you to execute JavaScript code. So for example, I can make console log here and say, test, and test appear there. Or I can make console log and an error, and I have different. So everything that you can do or that you execute here as JavaScript code, it actually has an impact on the page, or you can see it in the console. So as I said, we wanted to scroll. Which was the first one? The first one was scrolling to the bottom of the page. Okay, so let's see. We have something called a window. So this is the window, the whole window that we have here. And let's see, can we scroll? Actually, you see, we can scroll to, and you can already see I typed this before to check it if it's working. So what this does is it scrolls to an element or to an XY coordinate. And it says from 0, if you take the XY axis, from 0 to the height. And if we execute this, you see it's actually going down. Okay, let me open it again and execute it again, and it's going down again. So we want to take this code and basically execute it in our Selenium test. So let's get started. So in order to do this, we take our JavaScript executor and we just say execute script. And what script do we execute? Well, we execute actually this script here. One second. And what doesn't it like? Okay. Okay, it's always good to put this one in the wrong place. Put it here and then here and like this, because it has to match what we had in the console. So we put the JavaScript code as a string, and then we will execute it. Okay, let's just add here some code so that we can debug it. I mean, this is not mandatory, but I usually do it like this. So I write some code to help me when I debug. And if we run this right now, let's save it first and then run it or debug it. And this should actually perform the action. So when we see the test stop, it should already have scrolled to the bottom of the page. So now it performed the maximize, and yeah, it already scrolled to the bottom of the page. Perfect. So we have option number 1. We can scroll to a fixed point, which is the bottom of the page. If we take now option number 2, which is actually pretty similar to what we had here. And let's do that as before. We'll do it in the browser first. And we want to scroll by a number of pixels. So let's open the browser and say what we have. We have Windows scroll to, but we want to do scroll by. And in the scroll by, we have X and Y options. So here we tell JavaScript by how many pixels we want to scroll. And let's see. You see, it doesn't go to the bottom directly, it just goes pixel by pixel. So if we do here, I don't know, a really big number, it will scroll to the bottom because it basically goes out of the range. Okay, so let's add the code here. We can copy it and okay, instead of this whole window scroll, put X, and let's just add something extra here. And so in our example, X is 10. Okay, to see if it's working, I'm just going to comment this out and put a breakpoint here. Let's see if the scrolling was done. And unfortunately, this was too fast, but I'm 200% sure the scrolling was done. Okay, the last one, which we are going to have a look at, is actually scrolling to a specific element. So if we want to focus on a specific element, let's say we want this page scroll, and we can, so you will identify the element, and then we're going to tell JavaScript or Selenium via JavaScript to scroll the application until, well, until here, until the page scroll. Okay, let's do that. Stopping the execution. Let's just make this one again like this. And here, let's do a web element to scroll to, and we're going to find that actually by partial link text. And what's the text again? So we said we want to, I know, page, actually the page scroll. And now we're going to write JavaScript code. We're going to execute a script that it's a little bit different. So in here, we're going to need to give it an argument, and because we're going to use a little bit, well, it's a different function which requires an argument and not like just these coordinates. So I copied some code here. Like I said, it's a little bit different than the other methods which we executed. But the thing is, so you basically tell it to scroll into view and you give it an argument. The argument is actually the element that you want to scroll to. And let's just debug this. And it scrolled down to our element. Perfect. Before we end this video, what I want to point out is with the possibility to execute JavaScript code, we can basically do it all now. What do I mean by all? Well, we can basically execute within our Selenium tests any JavaScript code. So if you want to check for an element which is not really visible, which is in the shadow DOM, or if you want to check for some special properties which Selenium doesn't offer, or you can even perform changes on the page with JavaScript via the Selenium code and then continue with your Selenium code. So this opens a lot of possibilities. Basically, if you can do it in JavaScript, you will be able to do it via Selenium. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my videos, hit the bell, and comment if you need any other Selenium recipe or if you need any video regarding to software testing. And I'll see you in the next recipe. Have a good one. Bye bye.